sim racers, and welcome. Friday live stream tonight, and we're gonna talk about aliens. Ooh. So, how you guys doing? All good? Hope you're doing great. I had a pretty busy week as usual lately, but we're here, and I also had to, being old, I had to recover from the 24 hours of Watkins Glen, and of course, what a great idea to talk again about Watkins Glen in an Audi. Uh, all right, so how you doing, guys? How you doing? Let's have a look at the chat first of all. Happy Sun Friday, yeah. Hey, Fazli, hi, how you doing? And Mer Mortal Sim Racer, absolutely. Professor YouTuber Mer Mortal Sim Racer, which is both of those statements are wrong because I'm not a professor YouTuber and I'm worse than a Mortal Sim Racer. Um, Whatever, alright. We're starting already in a very aggressive way. Okay, so what are we going to talk about tonight? So, as you might have seen from the stream title and YouTube thumbnail, we are going to talk a little bit about alien setups, the famous alien setup, which are nothing more, nothing less than a setup that is extreme in terms of how the car handles, and if possible tries also to find out some exploits of the physics engine in order to just gain performance and go faster. I will not be able to show you the setup. I will tell you the usual things they're doing, negative toe, very soft springs, stuff like that. We will talk about that. But here's the thing. So we did a 24 hours race, right? And honestly, I sucked big time. That's the truth. Let alone the disconnection, which was very strange, and we believe it wasn't my connection because at the same time the stream was going ahead, and the Discord channel as well was completely connected with the chat of the other drivers. Simply at one point I just lost connection with the server. There was also something else that was particular during the end of the week and during the weekend. So every time I was going to connect to LFM servers, some of the times, more often than not, I would listen to the cars going around. The game would say that I was connected, but all the cars were stopped on the pit lane. And at some point I was just doing some laps because I thought that everybody was waiting, so I was doing some laps, and one guy in the chat told me, Aris, you have a problem. We are on on the track, and we see you driving, and you just go through us and you take us off. And I'm saying I can't see anybody. So there was a problem. The solution was to get out of the server, get back in the server, and usually it would work at first try. Okay. So what was happening? Actually, Low Fuel Motorsport make a communication, an official statement, and told to all the drivers that if you have this kind of situation, which was actually pretty was starting to be relatively common to West European connections, as they said, please immediately get out of the server, and there will be no penalties for people that they are advising you to do so, and get in the server trying to solve it. So there was something in the network between the clients and the Low Fuel Motorsport servers, or it still is, I'm not sure about that. I believe, because this was also happening during the 24 hours, it happened to me often to get in, listen to the cars going around, and couldn't see them going around. They were all stopped into the pit lane, so I had to get out and in again. So it could be that at some point, the connection, the network, whatever, the whole internet just, picked a couple of us, because also a couple of other guys had the same situation, said, fuck you, and just disconnected from the server. But, parenthesis, long parenthesis, let alone the disconnection, my performance in the 24 hours was very, very inconsistent. I couldn't do 2 laps put together. I couldn't, drive the car properly. You know me, I'm not the fastest, but usually when I'm trained, when I have enough practice, I am relatively consistent, all right? And I couldn't do that. So the idea tonight is, first of all, double verify that I can do the same lap times I was doing during the race with the alien setup. We'll do fast enough. And I will also show you what was my best performance during those setups, which, by the way, we can do right now. So let's do this. So let's do this. So where is it? Sorry, have to still find out my way here. Okay, so here it is, and this is a 44.9, as you can probably see. And farther forward, I mean, after this lap, actually, I did a 44.7 or 6 or something, or 8, something like that. So this was my best lap times. I did this lap time following another car, not so close, so not much of a slipstream, whatever. And I've managed to do also another 44.7 during the night, and so on, so on. So pretty much that was what I was available to do. And that is my performance. Small pause. So yeah, again here we have a 44.7. Okay, so that was my performance. So tonight we're gonna try and go under 45 in similar conditions. So whatever we do under 45 would be good with the alien setup. And then I'm gonna try and see, can I create a normal setup for me based on my knowledge, without abusing or exploiting some of the weakness of the physics or whatever, and do a similar setup, possibly with the with a normal setup, and being more consistent. So that is what we're going to do tonight. Right. So small parenthesis again. Guys, especially the guys that feel the need to get out from their favorite YouTuber and get to my stream and ask a complaint of a streamer. I don't care. Honestly, this is not the place. This is not. I don't care if some driver is slower by 0.3 of a second than another from another car or whatever. I mean, it's very easy for the drivers to complain when they get a car and they cannot be as fast as they want it to be. And as we have always said, the BOP doesn't work on a simple track. It works on the whole championship, so all tracks. So on some tracks the car will be faster than others, and on other tracks it would be slower than others. So also, we do not work for specific YouTubers or drivers or esport racers, whatever. We work for the product. We work for the 90%, 95% of you guys. We don't work for the 1%. Close parenthesis, because after a little bit of time, every time you do a live stream, you're gonna get asked from the same people of the same questions. It becomes a little bit tiresome, and we're not here for that. We are here for the rest of the people. So if I ignore some of your questions about this kind of questions, at least that's why. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at some questions before starting. Fazli asked a very interesting question. It says he read from a supposed TWC engineer that real cars, for example Audi, ABC doesn't only control how much it engages, but also distribution of ABS between front and rear axle. ACC does something similar. First of all, electronics is where the big war is done in GT3, because the rest of the rules are pretty much the same for everybody and quite restrictive. The electronics is where they're trying to get a little bit extra, and they keep changing and they keep doing extra stuff and they keep doing updates on their electronics. So always remember that electronics in a real car try to understand what the tires are doing, while electronics on a simulator know exactly what the tires are doing, and we are trying to make them worse. So ideally the electronics in the simulator can be perfect, but we are trying to make them worse to simulate better, possibly, what the real electronics are trying to do. And in Assetto Corsa Convenzione, since the electronics, like the ABS, do understand how much slip angle there is at the front and at the rear, by changing the levels, you can tell them, okay, make the rear slide more than the front, and so on. This is something we're going to see here tonight with an example between the Alien setup and how at the end I was able to drive it a little bit better at the end of my last stint. But yes, we are doing it. We are capable of doing it. How much we are doing it is almost guesswork, because obviously the manufacturers will not tell you exactly what we're doing, because it's a big secret between the manufacturers. So you look a little bit on the on some telemetries, you see what is wrong. We know they're doing it. By how much, we don't know exactly, but it's also a good guesswork, because also they will change from race to race and setup and level to level. So it's particular. Hope this answers your questions. Τριαντάφυλλε, ευχαριστούμε. Να είσαι καλά. Derek looks into a career related to sim racing. What do I recommend? Modding. Try modding. Try as much modding as you can. Modding, yeah. If you are good at modding, people will notice you. Status of GT4 tire tests in regards to future GT3. You've seen like 20% of what we could do, what we can do now for the future tires, on the GT. I mean, on the changes of the GT4 tires. I mean, don't expect complete, revolution, but yeah, we're much further. Thank you, Volkan. Very much appreciated. Thank you. On what base do you do the standard setups? Input for real drivers and teams. Yes, absolutely. The safe setups are from the homologation papers, which are very, very safe. Also a little bit safer sometimes, because remember, guys have to drive also with the keyboard or the joypad. The aggressive setups are from the actual racing when we have, or a good estimate and guess. Still a little bit on the safe side, because again, people have to drive with how to say, keyboard, joypad, and so on. Daniel, yes, Alien setup is way farther than CDA and default setups. So we're talking about much more aggressive setups. Mikael, you just need to get a little bit used, but every update needs a little bit to time for you guys to get used. Brablu says a modder is going around saying Kunos copied my mod in their official cars during ACC. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, modders can say everything and everybody will clap their hands. Developers will say something and everybody will point the finger and say, you boo, you suck. That's why we don't engage. That's one of the reasons we don't engage anymore with modding. If we see someone that is doing good work and he's doing proper work and consistently good work and is respectful, then usually we communicate with him or we contact him. That's for sure a good ticket to not be ever in contact with people like that. Costas, there are too many setups. Remember, the setups are different usually from car truck combination. So you need 3 setups for each car, for each truck. So combine all the trucks with all the cars for all setups. It's getting too much to have too many setups, especially if you have, you know, also other stuff to do. Fosco, non penso di capire quali binari che non andavano e cosa è successo per te. Però va bene, a volte facciamo le macchine belle e non le volete guidare e siete anche incazzati, non ho capito. Andreas. Massimo, there is a very nice video about how to understand your car, how to the video with the Porsche Zolder. That video shows you how to understand when you have rotation, oversteer, and understeer stability. I suggest you have a look at it. Search for Porsche at Zandvoort, and I don't remember the rest of the title, but I'm pretty sure John will find out in a minute. I like anime. I particularly like Initial D. I think it's very cool. All right, so let's get back in game. Let's give a little bit of extra, visibility to the TF Racing team that supported me really well during the full 24 hours. Great team. I'm really sorry that I couldn't deliver the goods for them. So we'll go to practice at Glen at the same more or less weather. All right, so we are 2020. We were something like 18 during the race, but doesn't matter. I think it's good enough. I think Honda is hard car to drive fast. Yes. Yeah, the guys were really good. Ciao Mauro. Hello Nikos. Yeah, so Nico. All right, so let's get back to, because as usual, I cannot show you that setup, but we will get the setup. We will put I think I had a little bit less fuel, something like 105, something like that, and let's go in. Rivus, it's obviously your driving style will make a ton of a difference. At the end, it's always this guy between the steering wheel and the racing seat that makes all the difference. All the difference. All right. So first of all, let's go for a couple of laps here. Let's see if we can do a 44. Oh my god, what is Glenn? Well, an oversteer setup or correction a setup with more rotation, okay, if you can handle it, it will make you faster, because obviously you can bring more speed inside the turn, all right, and the rotation will make the car make the turn. It's as simple as that, okay? Obviously, too much rotation will make the rear end, you know, want to go around, and you have to be good enough to control it. And this really depends a lot on your driving style, on your ability, or your precision, most importantly, or your precision. Okay, so this is the setup that, as you can see, I already start to having issues controlling, and I cannot really be very precise and confident with that. Hey Rob, greetings mate. Oops, my bad, too much sun. Hello Fernando. Well, again, Tortellini says I would call it balance, not oversteering. This completely depends on how good you are, on how much control you have on the car. So, for example, this setup would make the faster drivers of our team doing, at the same conditions, 44 flat. One did a 33.9 or 8, I think. So, about a second faster than me. Or, you know, 8/10 faster than me, depends. But most importantly, they were extremely consistent with it. Okay. Now I was not only obviously slower, and that's up to a point, but I also had issues trying to push the setup to the limit. And the issues were that I wasn't able to control the car always, every time. You see, like that. Typical here. So, for example, we were also talking about the ABS. So, with this setup here, I have oversteering issues at the turning, and I cannot judge when the car, you know, it's going to over-rotate for me like that, or it's going to be stable. Typically because my footwork is not precise enough, and it's not smooth enough. I'm very sloppy with my footwork, my inputs to the pedals, and the end result is what you see. Okay? So, hey Rob, quarantine, sorry mate, get well soon, stay careful. What does sloppy footwork mean? It means that my inputs to the pedals are not smooth enough, so I'm not going smoothly into the whole range of the pedal, motion, and they are not precise enough, because most of the things that a car does depends on how you work with the pedals, okay, with the inputs of your pedals, braking, acceleration, and so on. So, because I'm not so good on that, and also I'm a little bit lazy on the pedals input, so I tend to release the pedals too abruptly, the brake for example, or I tend to go into the acceleration way too hard and fast. All this upsets the car and makes the car not consistent. So every time I go into a turn, the behavior of the car will not be consistent. That means that if the setup doesn't help me with this situation, then I will simply will be doing errors like that and losing lots of time, or even worse, making mistakes that will cost a lot of time. Right, so one of the things I did was setting the ABS level to 6 and traction control as well at a higher level. And that already started to help me being able, at least at the release of the brake pedal, the car would be more stable. Why? Because the ABS level not only doesn't let, as we said, your tires to lock under braking, but it also takes care of the balance between back and forth, the front and the rear axles. So we do what, you know, in ACC, what the real cars do. Again, as I told you, it's a little bit of a guesswork. We don't know exactly what they do, and it's even possible that they're doing more stuff. You can see now that I'm a little bit better controlling the car at braking with a high level of ABS. That helps me. Alright, let's try to do a lap under 45. You see much more better. Under braking, and I'm already starting to be better also with the delta, because I can attack a little bit better. Okay, let's try a good lap, see if we can do it. Too much sat. Well, any technical track helps. I would recommend to try a short track where you can do more laps, you know, at a given time, because this also helps you remembering the track better and trying more things. So Hungaroring, for example, I don't know, Brands Hatch, another technical track, and so on. See how the car goes on and off the traction control, and I'm wasting time and I'm fighting with the steering wheel because I'm not so good at applying the accelerator. At least I can brake somewhat better. Takes a lot of effort and precision from my side to do a good lap. Alright, I think that's an under 45. Come on. Come on. Yeah. 44.8. I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay, so we just did a 44.8. Return to the garage. Get back to it. I will also have a look on so we did like 4 laps something, or 5 laps, I don't remember, but we have 1 to 2 0.01 to 0.02 difference of tire wear between front and rear after those laps. Okay, so what we're going to do, okay, so we are going to get the aggressive setup. So aggressive setup, confirm. All right, and I think we need to go up a little bit here, but I don't remember the pressures exactly. Let's have a look at the chat in the meantime. Hey Zoltan, welcome buddy. All right. Yep, the aggressive setup has an asymmetric. This is a typo here. We'll fix it. No, no. More camber is always worth it, and I will tell you why. Um, those tires, okay, pretty much all the tires, all the slick tires, would be faster with very high amounts of negative camber, like -5, -6 at the front, -5 or minus 4.5 at the rear. I'm not even kidding you. The actual Porsche Cup cars at Monza, I have said this example a lot of time. They were running at Monza. They were running -0.6 at the rear and -0.5.5 at the front. So those tires, they were Michelin tires, fine. Those tires can run and are faster by running amazing amounts of camber. Now Pirelli tires a little bit less maybe, but still -0.5 should be fantastic. But because it is dangerous to run them like that, especially when the tire pressure is low, and because Pirelli knows that many teams trying to run as low pressures as possible, they've managed to get a rule setting from the SRO organization which limits those cars, all the cars, to -0.4 degrees at the front camber and -3.5 degrees at the rear camber. This number, this value of camber is very low, and it's very low. It's low, okay, and except very specific situations, those cars could run much higher negative values and be faster with that. So pretty much all the teams run as much negative camber as they can get away with. You know, everybody runs at maximum. This is why you see that most of the setups are, you know, full negative camber on the slider. It's not unrealistic. It is correct. It is exactly what they do because of this rule. Back in 2018, instead, you could go up to -0.6, and there you could have some compromises like running -0.5 at the front or -4.5 and -4 at the rear, stuff like that. So you cannot do that anymore in reality and on the sim. So yes, they run as much camber as they can. Sometimes they might use a little bit less camber at the rear to add with traction and rotation under turns, or they might use a little bit less camber at the front, for example at Monza, because they need the front end braking force. So, but generally a lot of camber. Why changing tire pressure for all 4 tires is available in pit stop config but not in main setup? Lazy devs. That's the truth. All right, so the benefit of extreme tow is a physics exploit. Okay, so as I said, the aliens want a lot of rotation, and they tend to obtain that rotation with more negative tow. Negative tow is not something unheard of in reality, but rarely you put it at higher levels. That said, very careful. Usually you get all the aliens starting, oh, you put that slider to maximum negative tow and that slider to, you know, full wing and here and there. And they say, that's it. Okay. In reality, and in all the alien setups that I see from time to time, and talking with them, that's rarely the case. Sometimes it happens, but that's rarely the case. you will see that they will go into big amounts of testing to find out exactly how much negative toe they want, minus 0.20, 23, 25, 28, now 23 again. So they do this, and even at the rear wing, especially, I mean, some cars like the Audi, you just go full wing because the car is more efficient at full wing. It's made like that in reality as well. So they use it full wing almost always. On some cars they go full zero wing because the car works as well. But there are plenty of situations, even on those cars, that you will see that they will do one click less or one click more. Yeah, exactly as Tortellini said, it is much more difficult. It's not like what they want to. I mean, you can hear them many times saying, yeah, just put it max and that's it. It's not. They will try lots and lots of compromises and different solutions to find out exactly what they need. So they do work a lot. The exploits that they use are present, but not as severe as to put one slider to the max and that's it. And so there is a lot of work to be done. Don't hear and don't believe when they tell you, that's no problem, just put it to maximum toe and that's it, negative toe and that's it. It's not. Anyway, let's move on. So we will go with the aggressive preset, which we know it's already under theory. We will raise a little bit this to 1 psi because this is cold conditions. So let's go to 34.7, something like that. 26.6 here. I don't remember the actual. Maybe it's too much. We'll see. And I know we will use full rear wing, and we will use a little bit extra rear, something like 2.5, 2.4 percentage, which was the same pretty much that they used also in the alien setup. Go down here again, and then we'll see what is going to happen here. For sure I'm going to need different settings here, but I will try to not go full soft as they do usually in the alien setups. We will discuss why this is happening and so on. Niels, I believe so, yes. At least more traction, if you know what I mean. Better contact patch when it's low pressure. Now again, guys, we want to see something here. That's not that the alien setups, as they said, are not good. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that the alien setup are not good or are not. They do not give you performance. The thing is, the guy that is controlling everything, this guy here, is it good enough to get out this performance from the car? Okay, so let's have a look at this and let's discuss this. Okay. Flicker Dogs, non ci sono magnetici in GT3. In Assetto Corsa 1 no, non sono attivi. Vorremmo farli, ma non per Assetto Corsa 1 eventualmente. Perciò i magnetici no. Altre cose invece sono attive, sì. Alien setups are far than garbage. Actually, they are very well made setups. But again, as I said, the thing is, are they good for me? Okay, this is what we're discussing today. Hello, Soteris. Okay, let's have a go and check tire pressures as usual. Check how the car feels and modify. No, su tutte le macchine da gara per regolamento non sono permessi, non è permessa meccanica attiva o aerodinamica attiva, perciò è tutto fisso e basta, è roba da autostradale. Why saving slides is much harder in ACC than AC1? Because the cars that we're simulating are not made to slide around, and the aerodynamics are much more, how to say, pitch sensitivity, and we simulate it much better, which makes slides much harder. You also don't have enough lock, so all these things together made the slides much harder. We also simulate the characteristics of the tires much better for this specific Pirelli tires, and all of that makes slides more difficult. But if you get the GT4 tires, for example, the GT4 cars, or even better the M2, even with less steer lock than a street car, for example, the slides are much easier. Let's go back with the brake bias, because it's a little bit too far ahead. So again, you see, it depends on the characteristics of the car. Is it very stiff and dependent on the aerodynamics, or is it easier and more street-like car, even if it's racing car? The car is not bad. A little bit on the understeer side, maybe, but let's see first. Let's first fix all the tire pressures and everything. Seem to be okay. Oh, I have less fuel. I need to raise the fuel. But let's fix the pressures first. Adrian, welcome to the channel, buddy. I want to do at least a couple of laps to check the pressures first. Yes, no, Tortellina, no, I'm not gonna finish a fast lap here. I'm just checking the pressures first. I've noticed that just a moment ago. And then I will get in and fix pressures and fuel. All right. Okay, let's stop here because we're getting close to the. So let's get back. We need a little bit less pressure here, so something like 20.7. Same here. That's not bad here, and a little bit less over here. Okay, that looks better. And all right, so yes, first of all, 105 liters as before, and the car is a tiny little bit of understeer, so I will go a little bit lower here and raise a little bit more the bump stop range. And so, okay, you might say, why are you using so much stiffer wheel rates instead of very soft wheel rates? So, okay, so let's see. Let's have a look at the chart first of all. Okay. So, why are you using? You might ask yourself and myself as well. Why are you using stiffer springs? Usually, alien setups use as soft springs as possible and make the car go into the bump stop. Why is that? Why you're doing it differently? So here's what's happening. Those cars, the lower they go, the less drag they generate. Because the lower you go, at some point you also make the front split stall and the rear diffuser stall a little bit, and that makes the car generate less downforce, so you have less rolling resistance for the tires, and most importantly, the drag improves. We have the aero maps, we know that the drag improves when you go lower. So the aliens try to make the car very soft, okay, in order to make it go lower and lower and lower as the speed goes up because of the downforce. And by going lower, as I said, they have less aerodynamic drag, and they have also less rolling resistance as well. And because of that, they manage to get faster acceleration times and a little bit higher top speed. Okay, so it's a win-win situation. But if you go lower, then the suspension will have issues, absorbing the bumps, the curbs, and all of that. Turns out that because of a limitation of the physics engine, they can use the bump stops, okay? And they can use the bump stops, and the bump stops are not linear, but they are progressive. So they start very soft, and then they go up slowly. Here's what's happening though. The bump stops get a lot of range of compression in Assetto Corsa Competizione. A lot of compression. So you can end up with the suspension quite a bit compressed, okay? And they still keep on going. Which means that for any kind of curb and for any kind of bump on the road, whatever, you still have suspension motion, okay, to absorb, even if the bump stop is very compressed. And that means that you get a very soft car at the start of the compression, which gets progressively stiffer as the suspension range goes up and up and up and compresses more and more and more. So again, it's a win-win situation. On top of that, the bump stops are also self-dampened because it's an elastic polymer, whatever. So they are not very springy. They are more elastic in a rubbery way, and they are also self-dampening. And that means that even if you go at a very high level of compression, then the release of that energy is very much dampened. So the car reacts even better, okay? So all of those reasons make so that, the aliens obviously trying everything, they found out that, more bump stop, the better it is. So what they do is they make the wheel rates as soft as possible. They make the suspension go into the bump stop continually, and there is almost nothing to lose from that. Almost nothing to lose. So yay, win-win. What is the only compromise they have until now? By having very soft suspension, that means that the car goes into pitch. That pitch, you know that the cars in Assetto Corsa Competizione, as in reality, are very pitch sensitive, which means that the aero balance moves forwards and backwards depending on how the car pitches forwards or backwards, okay? Pitch or squats. This is one of the reasons why when I have to drive the Alien setup with very soft suspension initially, every time I go into the turn-in, the car reacts a little bit more nervous than I would like to. And because I am not so good of a driver to have very precise and specific inputs in the steering wheel and in the pedals, I make the car pitch too harshly or squat too harshly, and that upsets the aerodynamic balance of the car. It's not smooth anymore, but it is abrupt and it upsets everything. So that's my issue. Aliens are very soft and very precise in the pedals, and they can make this pitch movement every turn, every lap after lap at the same exact way, and can take advantage of that. So they are good with those setups because they are very good drivers. So why, Aris, do you use stiffer suspension? I use stiffer suspension because with a stiffer suspension I might lose the advantage of going lower, okay? But at least in under braking and under acceleration, the car will not pitch and squat as much, making the car more stable as an aerodynamic platform, okay? That means that lap after lap I can be as stupidly violent with my pedal inputs, but the car will help me maintain a control, okay? So this for me is a better solution, and you saw it already that with lower ABS and lower traction control I can still control the car, and we will see in a minute if I can be as fast as before. What about reality, and what about what we're going to do with this issue, all right? Well, in reality, not only things aerodynamically might be even worse than what it is in Assetto Corsa Competizione, it means that the car might be even more pitch sensitive, but you also have G-forces, so your pedal inputs can be very precise because we're talking about professional drivers, but still not extremely precise as the pedal inputs of a sim racer, which is, you know, fixed into his sim racing rig, doesn't feel any G-forces, doesn't feel any vibrations, doesn't get any instant and sudden hits for curbs, bumps, other cars, whatever. By definition, a sim racer can be much more precise than a real racer, even if we're talking about, you know, top professional racers, real racers against obviously top professional sim racers. And then we have the big difference. Okay, we have the difference that the bump stops in reality cannot compress forever. Okay, they have like 20-30 millimeters, you know, of compression range, and that's it. And that then becomes, you know, full rigid almost, extremely stiff, and at the end of the day, it also arrives to the end of the suspension travel with hard, you know, stops, and then you get all that energy moved to the chassis of the car. So ideally, what we should do is simulate this and make the bump stops, you know, end at 20 millimeters of compression or something like that, and then hit a hard stop on the suspension and move all that energy to the body of the car. That would ideally make the simulated car quite bouncy on the curbs, because if you are riding on the bump stops and you don't have enough rigidity on the suspension travel from the springs and the bump stops themselves, then you will very easily and very fast arrive at the suspension hard end, okay, and the whole car will just bounce out. So ideally, that will make this kind of solution not a win-win situation anymore. I'm not saying that the aliens will not use it anymore, but they might need to get more compromise out of that if this kind of thing could happen. We'll see. This is the idea, okay? This is the idea. But back to my problems, okay? Back to my problems. I'm not good enough with the pedal inputs, so I need support from the car. And to get support from the car, I need the aerodynamic balance to stay more stable, to not go too much back and forth. To do that, I need stiffer springs. Okay, so stiffer springs means, yes, the car might jump a little bit too much on the curbs, but it will be more stable at the turning, at the acceleration, and so on. Oh my god, how do I pronounce this amazing name? JZ Ilstra or something like that. Sorry, so much sorry for not being able to pronounce your nickname or name. Thank you so much though for the support. Thanks for the beer. You rock, guy. Thank you so much. And guys, if you like what you see and you like the explanations, this is the moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you got. It really helps. We're trying to not put non-stop, non-skippable ads and stay as actually no clickbaits at all. So let's do it. Now it's the time. All right. So all right. So we did this. I will also make the preload differential less because I don't want to have so much rotation under acceleration on soft. How to say soft? On acceleration on low gears. Abin says, why don't you use stiff damping as well? You can use that, but at the end, the damper will let go because that's how dampers work. They initially make the movements slower, but at the end, they will let everything go. So you can do both. You can do both. Here's the situation, John. Soft setups are not bad for Monza or high downforce tracks in GT racing because you have a limit of ride height, and it is quite high. We're not talking about Formula One cars that are very low and they will scrap the ground a lot if you're having very soft setups. We're talking about cars that they have 55 millimeters, which is quite a bit, and the cars do not produce as much downforce in order to low as much close to the ground and start scrapping. Welcome, Goran. Welcome to the channel, mate. No, the bump stop rate is not. No, Rob, sorry. The bump stop range is not the maximum travel of the Lamborghini. The bump stop range is the maximum travel over the suspension until it touches the bump stop. Actually. So, if I put the bump stop range at a high number, the suspension will go, and then touch the bump stop. If I put the bump stop range at a very low number, it will be like that. The suspension will instantly touch the bump stop. This is a limitation of the simulations, Absi. We'll see. Yeah, but when we say scrapping, we're not saying, I mean, if you see the MG, even the MG, the MG, the Mercedes, they are not doing the whole straight scrapping. They just occasionally touch, which is there is flex in the chassis, John. Yes. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Did I change? Yes. Okay. Let's have a look here and see if we can do a couple of laps. And see what kind of handling we get from the car, if I'm able to drive it, and if I can do decent lap times. Hey Andrea! Oh, oops. Ah yes, I forgot the brake bias. Let's go back. Tires are still cold and I can already push much more the car than before. Yes, ACC simulates a basic chassis flex. Because chassis flex, obviously, it's a very long discussion with lots of subtleties, but we do simulate a basic chassis flex and all the things that derive from that. Remember how was the brake bias on the aggressive on the alien setup, but I think we're close. Okay, so remember we haven't touched the dampers at all, and there is lots of performance to be found over the curbs with the dampers as well. You can see that the car bounces a little bit more. Brake bias affects the brakes, the brake balance. It has nothing to do with the suspension, mate. Hey, Abin. Well, you know, there's no simulator out there that is perfect, and you can always improve. And most importantly, I want to give a very objective point of view for everything. For example, alien setups, are they good? Yes. Do they offer performance? Yes. How much? I can't really tell. That's an interesting point we can tell later. But they're also very useful to me because I can find out, you know, eventual limitations of the physics engine and see how we can improve. Still too high pressures. Maybe the temperature is too high, so maybe we need to restart the practice session. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, 21, 24. It's way higher now. It makes sense that we are both slower and the tires are higher. You can see also that I'm losing time in the straight, both because the car is stiffer and because the temperature is higher as well. Yep. All right, made it too much. Let's restart the session because now it's too high. No, Zabzi, the Bentley is sorry, the Bentley is an amazing car, extremely capable, and it is capable as well in the sim. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the evolution of the other cars anymore because the cars keep evolving always. So, all right, so let's start here. The Bentley comes with leather seats. And okay, let's try it.
Green light, give it all you got.
I think that the Bentley is still very fast, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. Sim racers as a whole, you know, big percentage of the community, will see whatever car wins, and they will all move together to the car that wins. They don't care about which car arrives second, third, or fifth. They all go to the one single car that, you know, wins. And the winning might be because the driver is very good, or because, you know, for whatever reason, or because they happen to see on the last race of a very official racing that car won, so they will all move to that car. There's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. Marchetti, ciao. I didn't want to say that, serious, Sir Sirius, but yeah, you get the point. Well, right now, you know, you have McLaren, Mercedes, BMW, some Audis that they're winning. You know, the Aston has become not probably win material, but getting close. So, I mean, in the last 24 hours of Spa, we had 19 cars. All right, 19 cars in less than 4/10 of a second in the qualifying. 4/10 of a second, and in the race they were even closer together. So that gives you an idea of how close the car is, and yet people will choose one car or the other because supposedly it wins because it gets. I mean, the first 3 or 4 guys in the qualifying with different cars, all right, they were like less than 1/10 of a second away, much less, like 80 thousandths. Okay, and yet people, they will choose one car or the other because, hey, it won, got pole position, must be better, and nothing changes in terms of performance. Yeah, but the custom BOP we're using in SRO now, it's very low. We're talking really low amount of ballast, okay? And we're also talking about it's been used for specific circuits. Because again, I'm telling you, the BOP is made in a way that it balances out the whole championship, okay? So, again, you have to take everything under perspective. And again, I'm very, very, I want to underline this a lot. We're not talking about top-end drivers, we're talking about 99% of people which are, you know, fast like me or a little bit more than me. We're not talking top sim racers at this level of performance, okay? You pick the car that you like the most, and you pick the car that it makes you more consistent, not the car that you think it's going to give you 1/10 of a second more performance. This is ridiculous, and yet this is what they do every single time at every BOP update. So yeah, that's how it works, unfortunately. Go up a little bit too fast in there. Sky, man, thank you so much for the support, mate. Thank you. Gop! Thank you, guys. Highly appreciate it as usual. You are great. Alright, so what do we have here? I'm talking to the chat and I'm doing 44 ones. Not bad. I'm pretty sure that if I concentrate a bit, the 44s will arrive with a setup that is basically a slightly modified aggressive setup. It's far easier to drive for sure. And if I raise the brake bias, the ABS stuff and the traction control, it will be even easier for me to push this setup around. So much better. So much easier. A little bit wide there. Look at that, I'm gaining again, lap after lap, and the pressures are too high at the rear. Too much aggression over there, and yet still doing the same lap time. Okay, let's go back to ABS 6 so I can handle it better maybe. It will help me out. Baby, come on. a little bit too slidey over there, but much more easy to control for me. Yeah, I wasn't good here. I can attack the corners easier, you see. 45 flat.
Fastest lap.
So what I can do to improve this setup? I could make the kit rotate a little bit more at acceleration. It shouldn't be that hard to do with a little bit of extra bump stop at the rear, maybe, possibly. Because I can feel a little bit of understeer when I'm accelerating. Much better here. But again, it comes out everything much easier than before. I mean, I'm talking to you guys and I'm pushing the car to the limit. There was no way I could do that with the other setup. Look at this. Even when I'm doing some mistakes, it's much easier for me to get back and push again and don't lose as much time as before. Easy. I've lost a little bit of time here, but again, I mean, there are 3 laps I'm doing 45 lows, and I could do now 44 high as usual. So let's go back here. We need a bit less pressure over here, and that looks good. And I want to go lower on the bump stop here, so possibly I will have more rotation under acceleration without going too, you know, crazy. This, I need this lower, or something like that. Gop, hey, thank you, buddy. How much side mirrors affect downforce? They do affect downforce in a way that they create, if they are, you know, designed properly, they create vortices. But in GT3 cars, not that much. So, dampers here. We could do a lot of stuff here in the dampers. We could make the car a little bit stiffer, maybe at the rear, so that it doesn't bounce as much. Let's see what this will bring. And a little bit stiffer also at the slow, so that doesn't goes into you know, pitch. Yeah, they use usually very low bump at the front. Again, 0, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any bump. 0, it means it is softer and it has a more smooth curve from the start of the bump, the start of the damping, to the transmission of the fast bump. So again, I remind you guys, 0 value doesn't mean it's no damping at all. Okay, there is a very specific, every click you do, it's a very specific damping curve. Okay, and those curves, the the data were given to us from the actual damper manufacturer. So if they say that there is, you know, something like that, then you can use it. Do you measure downforce on real car? We get aero maps. Every manufacturer makes measures of their cars into aero tunnels and get out with and also simulating in CFD, and they get out with aero maps which describe exactly how much downforce you get for specific splitter and wing angle and specific ride height front and rear, and you get all this 3D aero map and we implement it. How important is the wind in ACC? It is quite important, but the cars are quite heavy and not, even though they are aerodynamically dependent, they're not aerodynamically dependent like, you know, a Formula 1 car. So yes, zero wing is not zero wing. It makes a very specific downforce and drag values. Same as maximum wing, it's not a wing that it gives you humongous amounts of drag and shouldn't be used. No, it all works into a range that the manufacturer has decided that this is where it should be. Gerson Thomas Santos, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much. Says, does the equipment makes much difference in gaining time consistency? For example, I did it against G923. Thank you so much for the congrats. Thank you for the hashtag. We love ACC. How do they do it? Whatever. Thank you, buddy. But yes, good equipment makes you gaining consistency, and sometimes it also makes you gain time, but don't believe it is a massive difference. Okay, don't believe it's a massive difference. There's still people out there that they are aliens and they drive, you know, old driving force pro steering wheels with old pedals, but it gives you, for me, it's important. It gives you immersion. It gives you feedback. It depends also how much you care and you like feedback from the car. Some people, you know, put the force feedback almost to zero to not feel anything, and they to drive faster. So all right, okay, let's do one more lap here. And see what we can do. Let's see if this was an improvement or not. Not the sting. I remind you that the Ferrari wins races. The Ferrari won the SRO race at Spa on there. So the McLaren also has a GP2 engine and still wins. So guys, because again, don't make me repeat that. Don't make me become a rant again. Your data is not correct. Yeah, it's one of the best. Ferrari is one of the cars that can win pretty much everywhere. It is particular. It takes a particular driving style. It takes particular setups, whatever. But come on, you cannot say every time that, oh, the Ferrari is not good. Really? Ferrari, by the way, it's not only it can win, but I would say it also makes pretty much identical results to reality. It's always there, close to to the podium. And I mean, even if you go and ask David Perel, it will tell you they are so great to follow cars behind, but they cannot overtake. It's just not easy. It's because the BOP doesn't let the car go as fast. But yeah, let's make a car OP because reasons. It will be good at Ferrari. True. Suffering. The dampers affect the suspension speed, not entirely the suspension mobility. Okay. Springs and bump stops affect the suspension mobility. Dampers affect how this mobility, how fast or slow this mobility is. Now, obviously, easy to say, the reality is much more complicated as usual, but you get the idea. Oh my god, look at that! I'm like 1/10 of a second faster and I'm still heating up the tires and talking to you guys. A little bit too wide here. My bad. Another 45 flat, very low. Oh. Very interesting. Could it be that the Ferrari lacks dampers, lacks control? It could be. I will double verify, but it could very well be that, you know, the alien setups and generally the setups of the car is a car that needs to be set up with a negative pitch. Alright? That means that the rear end is closer to the ground. You also run usually less rear wing. Okay, because that is how the car likes to be, the setup that likes to have. And all of that means that when you finally touch, you know, the ground, you touch first with the rear end instead of the front end. Which means it makes your rear end jump around, it's heavier, it needs to be stiffer. I remind you, fast drivers, alien setups, or at least very aggressive setups, use very soft suspensions for the usual reasons. So what happens? It happens that the rear end goes to the ground, bounces up, softer suspension means more movement, and oh boy, we have problems. On the Ferrari, it's not as much win-win situation as it is maybe on other cars. So looking good. not very good there, but still the car reacted properly. That's okay, 44.9, I'll take it, you know. I mean, how cool was that? Can the car become faster? Yes. Can we work on it? Yes. I just, you know, but it's still the aggressive setup with a couple of changes here and there. Can we start making a compromise to make the car a little bit softer, but not so soft, and see what happens? Yes, we can do all that and see what happens. But I was much. By the way, look at this. Same wear front and rear. Now, on our very aggressive setup, we had significant difference of tire wear at the front and at the rear. On this setup, it means that I won't say we have none, because I'm pretty sure that it will happen later on, but it's already much less, to the point that the rounding error here shows the same number. So for a long stint, I'm pretty confident it might be, you know, much easier. So let's save this. Let's call it, how do we call it? Audi Watkins Glen A20 T20 EZ01 Air as well, and save it. And as usual, I will post this to our Google Drive shared folder for setups. So let me go and find this. Audi R8 MS Evo. What is the name of the game here? Where is it? Here it is. Setups. Audi Evo 2. Watkins Glen. That's the setup. Evo 2. Create the folder. And then we create the new folder, Watkins Glen. And then we'll go in there and copy that. Alright guys, as usual, you know, on the description of each video you will find the setup, the link for our Google Docs shared folder of all the setups. Go in there, get the setup, have some fun, play a little bit with it, see what you can do. Alright, so let's talk about that. Are alien setup the bad thing that everybody should hate? Are alien setup not correct? Are alien setup actually slow? No, 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 and no. Can you get your hands on an alien setup? Do it. Have fun. It's one of the great things in simulation, in sim racing, is that you can change and try as much setups as you can, and nobody can tell you anything, and you can get more experience and become a better driver. Furthermore, an alien setup will also make you know, the king nude. You know, it will show you extremely efficiently and very fast how bad driver you are in comparison to the top drivers of the world. You know, because the moment you cannot drive an alien setup, you should also not only say, oh my god, I cannot drive this is shit. No, you should also try to understand why you cannot drive it, where is the problem, and possibly improve yourself. You know, there is always something to learn, there's always something to improve. Personally, for me, it also helps me understand, okay, where is a problem in the physics engine that we can improve and make it better. All right, so that's the most important part. Is it good for you to drive an alien setup? Will it give you a faster lap time? Maybe. maybe if you are a good enough driver, maybe you get a better lap time, a single one, maybe the qualifying one, maybe a couple of good lap times during the race. Will it give you the consistency and make you a faster driver in a full stint, a full race of 20 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour? I don't know what kind of races you do. Will it make you faster through a whole stint? If you're like me, or even a little bit faster than me, probably not. Probably not. Why is that? It takes one error to make your lap time half a second or 1 second slower, than usually. And 1 second is enough, to make your whole stint much slower. Why is that? An alien setup, assuming that you can drive it and you can be faster with it, it will make you faster by a normal setup that you can drive by 0.2 of a second. I want to be good. Let's say 0.4 of a second. 0.4 of a second per lap. Okay. But if you cannot drive consistently all those laps, and usually when you have a setup that you cannot handle, it will go a very fast lap time, then a average lap time, fast time, average lap time, average lap time, average lap time, fast time, error. Okay. Error means big loss of time. So all of that will make the whole stint much slower than a good setup that you can drive. Okay. That will make your lap times a bit faster than average, a bit faster than average, a bit faster than average consistently for the whole stint. If you can do that, this should be at least your aim. That's what you should try to do. Practice to be consistent on your level of performance for a full stint. This thing will make you faster through the whole stint, and it's better for you, okay, if you're doing races. If you're doing endurance races with, driver swaps, it's better for your team. And this is what you should also try to understand, because this also understand what your level is and how to improve. Now, the big question here is this kind of setup here, that it is a decent setup that makes me consistent. Okay, a decent setup that makes me consistent. Is this kind of setup fast enough for an alien? I don't know. That's a question mark. Can an alien take this setup and make it and go almost as fast as his alien setup? Probably not, but honestly, I've seen these guys drive. I'm pretty sure they will be like, no, that's not good, that's not have enough rotation, all that stuff. They like to complain a lot because that's the job, that's what they pay them for, that's what they should do, complain. Because they are trying to find out the last 10th of a second, the last 100th of a second. But honestly, I don't think they will have big problems to be almost as fast. 1/10 of a second slower, 2/10 of a second slower, 3/10 of a second slower. Obviously, if you have a team that has 3 or 4 guys that are all on alien level, but if you have a team that has 1 or 2 drivers that are top and 1 or 2 drivers that are much lower, then you need a good compromise, a setup that everybody can drive consistently. Because the good drivers will make your car go up. The bad drivers are going to ruin the whole race for you, for your team. The bad drivers are going to ruin the whole race for you. So you need to find a way to make the bad drivers, I'm calling them bad, but you know what I mean. I mean average drivers, normal drivers, fast drivers, but not aliens. Okay. You need a way to find to make those drivers be consistent and keep the level up for the rest of the race. So that's my idea about that. That's my idea. That's what I think. That's what I believe. Might be wrong. might be the ramblings of a madman, and so on, as they say. But that works for me, and I think I am an averagely good driver. So I'm not alien for sure. I'm not a very fast driver. I'm a fast driver. You know, I don't think I'm a slow driver. So I think it works for me, and I believe again that 90% of the people out there, 90% of us as sim racers, shouldn't get crazy about how I can gain 1/10 of a second, which is the OP car, which is the OP setup to gain 2/10 of a second. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Anyway, question and answers time. First of all, I hope you liked tonight's discussion, let's say, and theoretical live stream, whatever. So let's start. Beer of choice, Staropramen. Check. Otherwise, any good Weizen will be good. I don't remember the names, but any good Weizen, it's good for me. But Staropramen, not if you can find, but if you can find at Prague and possibly, you know, from not in the bottle, it just has a different taste. The water in Czech is it's different. It's different. It's the water, I believe. Not the stick. I'm Greek. I live in Italy since 1991, so a lot of years. What's my opinion on fixed setup races? I don't particularly like them. I'm usually for realism. Realism means the car has setup changes, you should implement those. The car doesn't have setup changes, you should implement those and race. Coconuts, not soon. Stay on. I love your country, man. It's great people, good food, great beer. Looking forward to come back again. Which could be better for a base setup? It depends on your level, mate. It all depends on you. How can you handle it? If you drive the safe setup and you see that it's way too understeery for you, but you know it's understeery for you, all right? Not just because you're just arriving way too fast on the turns. Move to the aggressive. Try an alien setup. It's better for you. Fine. Can you handle it for a lot of laps? Even better. You know. Which car I would main for a competitive basis? Whatever I love. I don't know. I enjoyed the Audi for this couple of weeks. Now I will switch maybe to the Mercedes to have a go. I don't know. I just, you know, look at them. I like this. I'll take this. That's how I do it. Coconuts. I didn't forget. I'm married. Where do you find these alien setup? Most of them are also selling them, but you know, if you get into a community or even better into a fast team, you're gonna find them. They will get passed to you. I don't think GT2s will have extremely open setups, but not Porsche Cup levels. Flickerdog, grazie caro, grazie. Anche per me fa sempre piacere parlare con voi, te l'assicuro, per me è liberatorio e un ottimo modo di uscire dal mondo dev e entrare più vicino al sim racer. I did adjust the dampers for every car in the fast setups. It's both feeling and data. Keep in mind that dampers is one of those things that in our simulators, all simulators, is always going to be a bit problematic. Why is that? They need a very high frequency, which we cannot afford. Okay, so you simulate them as good as you can, and then the simulation will jump lots of movement because the speeds are too high and the frequencies are too high, and the refresh rate of the physics is too low for them. So it's that's why you need also a bit of feel. Gerson again. Ooh, thank you, buddy. So kind of you. Driving with VR is much worse than with only one monitor. What do I think about VR? I'll tell you what I think about VR, and people with VR will not be happy, unfortunately. So, what do I think about VR? VR is not a standardized technology. It doesn't follow standard protocols. Everyone does a different thing. And even if people of VR are saying, oh, but there's so many of us and so on. No, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. Unfortunately, no. The percentage of VR users is extremely low. We're talking single digit, slightly raised a year or two ago, and then lately also even went down a bit. So what all this means? First of all, it means that when a sim racer decides to go into VR territory, it has to keep in mind, understand, and realize that is dealing with experimental technology, drivers, implementations, everything, which means that she needs to be a power user, to be able and willing to try things, to experiment, to understand what it's doing. It's not plug and play, and it's never going to be plug and play for everybody. So it's going to be hard, especially on titles that need a lot of resources from the computer just to run on a single screen. And then obviously the VR implementation from game to game varies a lot, and the priority it gets is unfortunately and usually low because of the numbers. Okay, and it's not true that if you put a lot of effort you're gonna get much higher numbers. You are not it's not going to happen because the percentage of VR people is low and the actual absolute numbers are low. So, do I like the technology? I found it personally very spectacular. I don't use it because I already spent 10 hours, 12 hours a day in front of a computer, driving, writing, analyzing data and so on. If I put also a VR, then I will really live in the matrix and I won't have any connection with the physical world anymore, which is something that I don't want to do. So I'm not the best person to ask about why don't you use it, what do you think about it. My specific workflow and playground, whatever, do not permit for me to use the VR consistently. So my opinion is biased because of that. But the objective also, data is, the numbers are low, the technology is not standardized, it's not plug and play. People who go into the VR territory have to understand that they need to get to be power users and they need to experiment, they need to find out the solutions by themselves. And on top of that, you have the implementation of the games and the devs themselves. Some is better than others. Some are, you have to do things in a way because the rest of the game, you cannot make a specific game just for VR or specifically for VR. It's difficult. So no, Vladra Damus, no, it's not like that. Even if you filter the core user, whatever, it's not much higher. The much higher is like, again, I repeat, it's like single digits of the whole users. So we're talking some thousands, maybe in a 1 million user base. So the priorities obviously go to the 1 million user base and not to a couple of thousands people that use VR. It's not couple, I'll grant you that, might be more closer to 10,000, but there's no comparison, no comparison. I don't think you can use the motive for console, at least not for now. Octavian, I respect you. I know, and I have always said that you are the VR guy, for everything. When I saying that it's not standardized thing, I'm actually telling that OpenXR might be great. Okay, even the manufacturers of VR do not follow exactly. So you get a manufacturer that does one thing, you get another manufacturer that does a different thing. So. Every title will have VR support, obviously. How good? It always depends on many situations or reasons. Massimo, I try to use track references on the exits on when to go on the accelerator. Absolutely. Wallrack, welcome to the channel, buddy. Sorry I didn't saw your subscription. Welcome aboard. Turn the volume. What do you mean? There was another question. Januka says, technical question, what is the technology that we use when collecting data from the real life cars? What format is the data collected by, and how do you implement it into the game? Multiple. Well, most easy thing to do, usually they give you the technical manual. The technical manual has all the infos, most of the infos of the car, and you just get the data from there and copy paste them inside the physics engine. We get telemetry, which help us to verify if the data that we have copied in also go on par or close to the real life telemetry. We might get, for example, for the suspension, instead of getting the actual 3D points of the suspension attachment points to the chassis, to the hub, we might get we might get the 3D model of the suspension together with the rest of the car, and at that point I will have to measure the points into the 3D space myself from the 3D CAD. And if we don't get anything of that, then we go ourselves and take the measures either by just measuring everything or by 3D scanning the car and the suspensions. We also try sometimes to, if there are street cars, to drive the cars ourselves. It's always very good for experience, and so on and so on. Of course, some people say it's slower, some people say it's faster. I prefer manual, but I've seen also many aliens using the auto. So is everything implemented to the Unreal Engine? It doesn't matter. Sometimes I will use a notepad editor for a JSON file to put data inside the physics engine, or you can do the same thing inside the Unreal Engine. So it doesn't matter really. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter how you input the data. Obviously, you try to find the way to make it in the easiest way and most and fastest way. Octavian, it's my pleasure. You know, I mean, again, also to the chat, guys, if you need any uh, advice about VR and how to set it for Assetto Corsa Competizione, Octavian, or even other titles, Octavian is the guy to ask. Be polite, because he's not tolerant to not polite people, but you're gonna learn a lot from him in terms of VR. Portal, I don't know, buddy. That depends on a lot of things. It's not an easy answer to give you if we don't talk more in depth for that. Rob, yes. Auto pit stop limiter. Auto pit stop limiter is allowed, but you need to brake before. What is the genesis of the title Assetto Corsa? Assetto Corsa means race stream. Okay. It is actually inverted. So in Italian you say Assetto Corsa, which means trim race. But in English you don't say that, you say race trim. And the founders, Marco Massaruto and Stefano Casillo, were discussing, what kind of name to give to their title after Netcar Pro, and at some point they said, you know what, everybody in the world is using Italian names for the best games and simulators, racing or car games out there, like Gran Turismo or Forza Motorsport. And so why don't we use an Italian name for our title? And a bit of this, a bit of that, they ended up into Assetto Corsa. It was easy, relatively easy enough to talk to people. It became what it is. It is a massive brand right now. People all around the world know about Assetto Corsa, and everything is going to be called Assetto Corsa something from now on and in the future. It has been an extremely good decision from them. Yeah, so Emperor, planning to bring the new Lambo? Yes. Januka, I don't think we're hiring, but you never know. Send as usual the curriculum on via the forum on the website, and hope for the best. Congrats on your graduation, Januka. Congrats. Vice, I won't even reply to you. I mean, don't buy it. I don't know what to tell you. Make the bigger differences. Well, refresh rate, we cannot do that, unfortunately. We are already at the limit. Tire modeling, as usual. I think with Aero we are at a pretty good point right now. So tire modeling and some stuff in the suspension, maybe. We'll see. Quality. We don't know how to do arcade games, Massimo. We have no idea how to do them. Our only force here is that we managed to do, simulators, hardcore simulators of that. So that's the only thing we do. That's the only thing that keeps us in the market, because obviously, even though we have great graphics, it's not that we can go against, I don't know, Forza or Gran Turismo. So we need to differentiate ourselves. And honestly, we love driving and we love simulation, so why go and do stupid things? Flicker Dogs, la maggior parte delle macchine anche in realtà sono overdumped in diverse situazioni. Oh, too many things. When will you get Assetto Corsa Battle Royale? Soon ish. What is the thing that I like most about my job, and what is the thing that you like the least? Well, I like the least the data collection and inputting. It's a little bit, boring. I like the least when there are exploits that I cannot fix instantly and needs a lot of time and solution, or maybe I don't even know how to fix them. I hate that. This really bugs me. I really hate it. I hate some sort of complaining and people, asking to work for them instead of understanding that we work for a company and a product, and the product is what it is, and we try our best to make everybody happy and improve the product, even though we shouldn't, because as you know, when a product comes out, then that's it, usually in the game industry, and we do the exact opposite. We work hard to keep on evolving the product, and they don't seem to appreciate that pretty much never, or almost never. Just asking, so that bugs. I mean, it sounds like a rant, honestly, and most of the time I don't care, but sometimes it bugs you, so enough. I mean, give me a break. Anyway, what I like plenty of things. I like the driving part. I like the experiences I get in the real life. And this is something that I've been thinking lately from a very nice question they did to me into an interview. And the best thing I like right now is that even though I will never be as good as a proper professional engineer, I don't even have the background, I don't even have the knowledge, and I don't even have the experience and work as they do. I will never learn everything they know. I'm trying hard. I have my own limits, but I do have something more than them. Usually an engineer, a race engineer, automotive engineer, whatever, they go into a manufacturer, maybe they will jump to another, a couple, 3 maybe, but that's it. Okay, and they will work on some projects, some cars during their career, and that's it. They will get to know amazing parts and details, especially those that they work on the top level. But I have something better than them. I have the experience of having simulated hundreds of, and I mean really hundreds of cars, very, very different cars from all kinds of manufacturers, from all kinds of eras, from all kinds of racing, motorsport, street groups. And that gave me so much generic knowledge. Sometimes I say I can even see the matrix. You can show me a suspension geometry, and I can tell you, oh, that must be BMW, or that must be Alfa Romeo, or that might be Lotus, for example. It's that clear to me just by looking at the numbers, not even the whole design, just the numbers. And that made me also understand the traditions and mentality, if you can say so, and the way the manufacturers work to cut costs one from another. And it's very, very clear, actually. You can really understand them when you work on so many of them. And boy, do I like that. I really like that stuff. I really like that stuff. When I can understand why a car is handling like that and what the manufacturer does to make it work like that, I really like that. I like it. This is one of the things that I really love from my job. Thank you guys. You're so. Thank you so much. That's what I love. Also, that most of you guys are amazing. Januka, no. I wouldn't consider myself that I created the cars that I implement to the simulation, because in the end they're data that I either measure or find from others. I do love that I manage, and this is something that we have always done in Kunos Simulazioni. We manage to give to the cars the actual character that the real cars have. So when you're driving a Lotus in Assetto Corsa, it has the character of a Lotus. You can understand that. When you drive a BMW, it has the character of the BMW. Even the GT3 cars, you jump from one to another and you instantly understand what kind of car there is. And wonderful thing is the actual real drivers go into the car. They might say, no, this is not exactly like that, this is not like this, we can do this differently, this is too much, this is too low, this is too high, whatever. But they will tell you instantly, yes, this is my car, but yes, you go, maybe you have a couple of drivers that have driven a couple of different cars. Yes, this is the Porsche, yes, this is the Lambo, yes, this is the Mercedes. It's very cool. It's extremely satisfying. Canceluca. Anche a me. More water. Come on, guys, a couple more questions and time to get some sleep. Yes, Vitka. For example, the NSX has the tendency to be extremely fast at turning, but also over rotate if you're not precise, for example. Or the first NSX had the tendency to lock the rear tires at downshifts, at fast downshifts, no matter what ABS you were putting. That was a problem with the electronics. We simulated that, all that stuff. It's very, very satisfying. LMDH series, we don't even know how it's going to be end up, but obviously there is no probability to get them in ACC. Would theoretically increasing the physics engine rate make a big difference? If we're talking about 50 hertz more or 100 hertz more, maybe not really. Every little thing sorry every little thing adds up. To understand the big difference, it would need something like go over 2000 hertz and a whole new world happens. Januka says that I said before that I didn't like the data collecting and processing. Isn't this whole part automated? Oh my god, this is completely manual. Number by number by number. Measure it, input, control it. Measure, input, control it. One by one by one. It's hell. What would need to happen to make sim racing next gen? You mean by in terms of physics, in terms of audience? What do you mean, Vladra Dabus? It might be Tortellini. I have to double check. Davide, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Some great names there. Look at this, David. It's a little bit too far away. What's the problem with the Lambo? Lambo again is one of those cars that can win now. The problem with the Lambo is that not all the teams are up to the performance, which means that the base setup, you know, there are a couple of teams that manage to pull out amazing performances, and the BOP is very heavy, making the car slower for the rest of the teams. So what those top teams, which are a couple or even just a couple of teams, manage to do, and it's not so easy to understand, and the rest of the teams using the normal car that we have data for, and the BOP massacres this kind of car. But still, right now, I think the Lambo is almost on par. People do not use it; it's harder. But if you get the Lambo and push it, you see that it is podium material right now on many tracks. No, honestly, Sally says, do you think manufacturers hold back from sharing all this data? No, not really. In GT3 racing, I don't think so. I mean, for most of the manufacturers, we get the full technical manual of the car. So, what more do you need? I mean, even the teams get the same technical manual, and that's it. The difference is that if you have the real car, you can measure it yourself, test it, go further, and find out things that even the technical manual doesn't have, because the manufacturer didn't bother to measure. In sim racing, you cannot do this, so you have to reverse engineer from the telemetry, or make some good guesses on some stuff. But Channel 11. My salary, my salary is not bad. I'll grant that nowadays it's good enough. Tempting for other companies. Honestly, it really depends on the ambient and atmosphere. They have to have the same vision, you know. Squash, I wouldn't know. Joao, no, I don't think so. There will be just one simulator. Uh, I mean, it's one of the simulators out there, says to be the best, and yet people are still divided. You even have people preferring a very good simulator, but one that is older, like Assetto Corsa 1, and obviously more limited, but they prefer it because they get better experience and feedback or whatever from it, even though it's not accurate. So you see, since we're talking about software and simulation and not real life, in real life, if your car understeers, or the steering wheel doesn't move around, you don't complain. You're like, that's it. What can I do? Nothing. It's fantastic. Great. I take it as it is, right? If a simulator does something that you don't like or you prefer differently, then obviously it's not realistic and it's all fault of the devs or the sim or whatever, and you jump to the other one which you think it's better only because you feel it in a different way, which is more compatible with your brain. So that's why we will never get a one simulator. Phew, guys, so many questions. Yasu Tony, when you're going to be an alien too? I don't know. If you find out, tell me. Octavian, a little bit. How competitive are my lap times? Usually, wherever I am, expect if you put me into a grid of full aliens, obviously, which I'm gonna be last. Usually, I'm around P10 position on a good varied grid, from very fast people, alien people, to Usually, I am, with good practice. Nowadays, I'm like 7 to 8 tenths slower than an alien on race stream, because I'm not good at qualifying. At qualifying, I'm even slower, but on race stream, I am somewhere there. But I need a setup that supports me to keep it consistent. Let's say 1 second, I'm good with that. The problem of driving a real car, any real car, after a simulator, is that your brain has to calm down and understand that the g-forces it feels should not bother him, and it should get back to the muscle memory from the simulator. All simulators nowadays in the market give great muscle memory to deal with any real car, but if you don't have any experience from real car racing and driving, fast, the g-forces and speed sensation and depth, real 3D depth from your eyes, are going to mess up with your brain so much that you're going to be much slower and very scared. Some people deal with that better than others. It takes practice. At some point, with practice, sooner or later, again, depends on the people, your brain clicks and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's very close to what I was doing into the simulator, and you start doing the same thing. As a matter of fact, many of pretty much all of the top sim racers, alien sim racers that we've managed to put into a real car, GT3 car, to test the cars, they made amazing lap times, to the point that they made lap times that were even faster than the initial lap times from top GOAT champions of MotoGP, for example, like Lorenzo or Pedrosa. The sim racers were faster at the first test. So that gives you an idea that modern simulators create an amazing muscle memory and very good experience of what the real thing is. Obviously, you need also top drivers to make sure that they will get this experience and muscle memory and convince their brain to isolate all the noise of the g-forces and depth perception and speed sensation, and start to drive. It's not easy, but we have the proof nowadays. What work occupies most of my time at the moment? Testing new technologies and new features or improved features, usually, and some calls, generally, because I also have some small management work to do. How much playtime you did in ACC? Well, I'm driving ACC at least 3 to 4 hours a day each day, minimum. Do I have any comments to the FIA Motorsport Games BOP? We didn't put any BOP because they decided they didn't want any because I don't know reasons. I don't know the exact details, honestly. We had one, but everything, Zabzi, everything. I would love a title that goes on forever, you know. But I don't know. I'm not sure if this is viable in today's industry. No time phrase as usual, guys. Never talk about that. Tony, less steering input. What I think about the 499p. Some very clever designs on how to exploit and go over the rules. The rules say that you have to have a specific aerodynamic efficiency. You know, I think it's 4. So let's say you have one CD, so one coefficient of drag, and you can get a 3 coefficient of downforce, or 4 coefficient of downforce, so you get a total of 4 of efficiency. But I don't know if I should say that, but yes, why not? Well, the rules measure this kind of efficiency in a straight line. Now, obviously, if you put lots of vertical fins and other stuff, then under slight yaw, your car will generate extra downforce than what the rules are going to measure. So, yeah, obviously, they were going to BOP the hell out of the car, so they will need some tests and some initial races, and then they will start BOPing that stuff. If you could have one track outside the Assetto Championship, Nürburgring, drink. Where is it? Drink, drink. Oh. Ah. Nordschleife, of course. No, I mean pretty much everybody trying to do this, but Rob, both the titles you you talk about are subscription titles or in-app purchase titles. So it's a different business strategy. Uh, I do agree generally with BOP as long as we're talking, client racing. When you are starting to do BOP on works cars, lots of stuff going on, and manufacturers have lots of power, both political and economical, to make pressure. So the 499 engine is not exactly the same as the 296. It's based on that, but they have pretty much changed the block first of all to make it how you say uh, I don't remember the exact um, English word. Practically the engine of the 296 cannot withstand the forces from suspension and gearbox and everything, so it has to have its own chassis to be bolt on, while the same engine on the 499 has gone under modifications in order to be part of the chassis without any extra chassis supporting it, so it can withstand all the forces from the suspension and everything. So the suspensions bolt directly on the gearbox. Januka, maybe someday. How old am I? Almost 50. Very close to 50. Yes, exactly, Samuel. The engine is a structural component. Obviously, they also have extra differences, but not much because the engine is very powerful already. Lately, Ferrari knows how to make engines. The street engines are extremely powerful. GT Challenge. I don't know, Dante. Usually for the GT Challenge, Ferrari practically forces the clients to buy the new car, as usual. Book resources. Well, the most, the more you understand about engineering, the better it is, obviously. Also, tire modeling is good to know. Learn good maths because I don't know as good maths because I didn't have the background, so I'm struggling sometimes. And I rely a lot to the developers to do the math for me when I cannot. Or, for example, I cannot help them enough as I want to. So if you know more, that's good. And make mods. Pick a modding platform, Factor, IC, whatever, and make mods. That will teach you a lot. I think it's gonna be more raceable, Zapsi, but I also think that Ferrari really tries to make as much downforce as possible, and that means that in the end they are going to destroy them in terms of engine restriction as usual. So, but I don't have yet the aero number, so we'll see. Chanel, what are you doing, man? Are you recruiting? You work for somebody? Juan Camilo, unfortunately, I don't have a degree because I decided wrongly, initial decision of your life, and I started doing medicine when I was young, and at some point I I dropped out from the university because I didn't really like it, and my passion was cars and computer graphics. So I started working into the multimedia department and industry, trying to go towards the automotive industry to do, you know, multimedia stuff. So I have a background of 3D creation, rendering, photorealistic stuff, and stuff like that, and some multimedia like CD-ROMs, interactive back in the days, stuff like that. And in my free time, I was modding, trying to find more. I was always passionate about cars and simulators, so I was trying to find out, and in the end, I had enough experience and knowledge, if you want to know, that first Simbin a little bit, did some slight work with them, and mainly beta testing. And then Stefano Casillo from Kunos thought that I would have been a good, you know, a good asset for the company to work and create the cars and so on. So, as usual, life is a lot about be prepared, and if you find yourself into the correct place at the correct time, grab the opportunity and run with it. And the fact that I don't have the degree, I'll be honest, it limits me on some situations, and I have to try harder. If I had to choose one car, what I have, probably a low-cost car in order to be able to maintain it and push the hell out of it and make me a better driver. And it has to be a rear-wheel drive car with very neutral handling, so either a Miata or a Toyobaru GR86, or even a Cayman at most, at the very high level. Hours and hours help on the sim, but if you can get some training, there are plenty of people doing training out there. It will help you at least initially understand your limits and where you're having issues, and then work on top of them. Octavian also said, well, post your lap and help me improve, and we'll try to help you out. When I started working at Kunos, how did I imagine the future of the company to be compared to what has been? When I started working at Kunos, we were like 4 or 5 people, and we were like this close from bankruptcy every single day. Every single day. The amount of sacrifices and effort put together by all of us, especially, of course, Marco and Stefano, it was mind-blowing. At the end, Assetto Corsa was make it or die. That was the situation, and it was a big investment from all of us in terms of, and it still is up to a point, because, for example, I'm doing a job right now. I'm 50 years old, and I'm doing a job which is extremely specialized. If I had to quit my job, honestly, what would I do in this age? It's not easy, and there are like 5 or 6 people in the world that they're doing our job, our specific job, not because it is difficult, but because we are into that industry and we learn how to do it. And so if you have to quit your job, you need to do something similar. So you need to go to one of the others or somebody new that wants to do the same thing. And it's not going to be easy, and new people are coming in. So anyway, I digress. When we started with Assetto Corsa at the end of Netcar Pro, we were really in a very bad situation for a lot of years, by the way. Like a couple of years before Assetto Corsa and 1 year after Assetto Corsa. it took a lot of time for us to understand that, okay, we are having something that, you know, we can finally start breathing. So yeah, it was hard times. We have been lucky and we have been capable both. So, and we did it twice with competizione. So that also takes out the oh, you've been so lucky. You know, we have been very lucky, but we have also been capable of doing it. So yay, Kunos. Januga, it's been a pleasure. I have driven the Oinkzilla, and I think it's an extremely efficient car that makes lap times fantastic. I also like it, but it's not the current handling I want for myself. So nah. I like cars that move around even though they're not so fast maybe. So I want to participate when driving. No, Rob Zombie, that's not true. But we had technology made for driving schools. That's absolutely, we had that, and obviously our simulation technology is, evolving. We never stopped and completely rewrite it. We are evolving. Some parts are being rewritten, but it's evolving. So we had the simulator, and obviously when you have the simulator you use it also for driving school, and that was one of the projects that kept us in life. But Assetto Corsa was born, to be a sim racing title. Zabzi. Okay, man, buddy. Kunos is very profitable. Luckily for 505, Kunos itself, and a bit for us as well. It's very healthy. Son New says, which car in ACC is best for Hungarian track? Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Porsche, Audi, BMW, Aston, maybe, even maybe Bentley. Pick one. All of them can be there. Honda as well, extremely capable. Pick one, anyone, the one that you like more, and the one that behaves better with you. All those cars can be on top of each other. Dodge Vipers. Dodge Viper is the definition of America. Not America, not United. America, great cars in their way, very successful in GT racing. So yeah. Oh, the play base, ACC is over 1 million. So the play base, don't judge the player base from what you see on the Steam charts and on people online. A healthy title has tons of people that come and go and play offline and stuff like that. And again, when you see like 5,000 people or 4,000 people online, that's not the full number of the whole day. That's the peak of people at once all together in a day. But you can have the 2,000 in the morning, which are completely different than the 4,000 in the evening, which are completely different from the other 2,000 in the night. So all of that adds up and becomes a much higher number. And we are very lucky to I mean, 505, releases officially the results, Assetto Corsa is one of the best, if not the best, revenue title of the whole company for 505, which is a big publisher and has big titles like Terraria, Control, No Man's Land, and so on. And still, Kunos is top. So. Take care, Tomek. Take care. Cheers, buddy. Visor, yeah, sometimes it is difficult to fight. Lately, everybody asks for higher uh, um, prices as well for the licenses, and they also tend to um, give the licensing rights to external agencies which do not care about sim racing or what games are or what the game industry. They're just there to make the money, which make working with a manufacturer harder because you don't have any contact anymore. So it gets more difficult than ever. What do I think about LFM? Fantastic. Januka, you got Rickroll. One of us, one of us, one of us. Welcome to the Discord server, mate. It's tradition. I don't know, Zabsi. I have no idea. We talked about that last time, Rob. Remember? Gub gub. Poor Januka. If I will attend the South America, I would love to go to America, but price, costs, everything. So, Zabzi, that's an issue, with licensing because it depends. If you don't get enough, um, sales to justify keep paying the licenses, because the licenses is not that you pay once and that's it. You keep paying every year. You keep paying. So if you don't have enough sales to justify the license, at some point you have to close the gates, the doors. And probably Picars went up to a point that it wasn't profitable anymore to keep paying for the licenses, and they had to get delisted from Steam. Obviously, when something like that happens, we are going to tell people, I don't know. I guess that someday in the far future, I hope as far as possible, Assetto Corsa 1 or ACC might not be selling as much as now, because they keep selling like crazy in comparison, I mean, in terms of sim racing. But someday, but obviously we're gonna say to the whole community, download everything you need, put it somewhere safe, make backups, because we are closing. So B-Rad Grand, they don't care about that. They care only for the money. No worries, Rob. Take care, buddy. Drink a lot of water. Take care. You'll be fine, but don't underestimate. How far off was the rumor from last year that ACC lost the SRO license? There was a rumor of that? I didn't even know. and I never even heard something like that. This is up to us to say that's enough, because SRO are very happy. As far as I know, we are also very happy with SRO, and both of us have brought tons of people from one side to the other. I mean, just look at their GT World channel that was doing like 500 to 1,000 concurrent viewers, and nowadays it's doing 4 to 6,000 for any normal race, and much more than that for Spa 24 hours. So I've never heard about that. I don't know who. Usual suspects probably, that they just want to see some titles and some software development teams to fail, and they will be happy, but that's life. No, no, Birat, I haven't tried Rensport. We've met the guys, fine guys at Spa 24 hours. We've met a couple of them, fine development guys as usual, heads down and working hard. So I hope they will do a great job. Steven's breather, the new meta could be. Squashy, yes, there is a Discord of LFM. I don't have the link, but yeah, there is one. As usual, guys, I don't speak for future projects, whatever. Competition not only makes for biggest improvements, but I'll tell you what, when Project Cars got announced, Project Cars 1, and we were about to go, actually, when we were about to go out with Assetto Corsa, all right, we were like crazy. Yeah, Januka, we usually talk to each other, and there might be a couple of singular developers that are not so happy, but as a software development teams, pretty much everybody is very cool, and we get along very nicely together. And there is also discussion sometimes, not often, but there is discussion. There is sometimes collaboration if we can. So it's very cool. So all the other things that you might heard that, oh, we hate each other, that's bullshit, honestly. And I'll tell you what, when we were about to uh, go out with Assetto Corsa, like a month or so before, and obviously we were the smallest fish in the pond, right? But we knew that we had something special. The driving was special, the graphics were special, the fact that we were simulating street cars was very special. We had laser scan tracks already. We knew we had in our hands something very special, and we were like, damn, everything else out there is old now. The iRacing back then was already old, and it was subscription model, so different stuff. The R Factor was old, GTR2 was old, and we had the next level, and we were like, oh my god, let us have a chance, because we thought that we had something special. And a month or so before releasing, R Factor 2 comes out, and we're like, fuck. And then, like days before releasing, something like that, Project Cars is announced, which was, similar situation to Assetto Corsa. Amazing graphics with even more features back then, and street cars. And it was like, no. That was really the lowest part of, uh, our morale. We really had the morale down. Like, oh my God, the giants are coming out, and they are coming out right at the moment where we are about to release Assetto Corsa. And yet, I'll tell you what, we found out that obviously we had a very good project. We had a very good title and a very good project, good features and everything. And we found out that the whole noise created by the new titles, Factor 2 and um, Project Cars as well, this thing created a lot of noise around sim racing, around driving, and our gaming titles, and inevitably all those people started also asking about, okay, what's Assetto Corsa, which for us, which we weren't known by anybody, and we were really very small fish. It was extremely important. We didn't have money to do any promotion. We didn't have money to do any social. I mean, back then I was doing the physics of the cars. I was doing the video trailers. I was doing the user interface of Assetto Corsa, with all the limitations, by the way, because we didn't have any user interface developer. We just had Stefano doing everything. So I had to make the graphics in a way that Stefano could easily, do the things that were needed to do. And then we got a user interface designer, but he was doing only the launcher, which was HTML, and we had to do the two things similar in colors. And so the design had to be in the way that it was. And I was doing also the social presence, so Facebook and Twitter page, all handled by me, all that stuff. And Marco was doing another 5 jobs together, and Stefano was doing all the programming, 100% of the programming initially. So we didn't have any money, we didn't have any possibility to do big thing, right? And for us, having people talking about the simulator, the new title, because they were also talking about the other ones, that was a great opportunity for us. And actually it made much more good things to us than having no competition at all. And we actually saw that in the results and in how the community was reacting and was moving from one title to the other. So in the end, and I'm pretty sure it helped also the other guys. So more competition helps everybody in the end. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah, GSR. I'm responsible for the physics from the last cars from Netcar Pro and the Ferrari Virtual Academy I did, and Assetto Corsa 1 and Assetto Corsa Competizione. BRAD mainly because my belief is that the steering wheel moves more and it permits to slide more. We have a different idea of and data on what those tires and those cars do, and so we don't do that, but to its own. Yeah, the AC on consoles was a great success as well. It also puts into perspective the modding, which is amazing and keeps Assetto Corsa very alive. But I can assure you that the sales on console are always have been on par with the sales on PC, and on consoles we have no modding, and the sales are still the same and equal between PC and console. So Manos, grande. We should do a podcast show at some point, yeah. Manos was one of the aliens of the TF Racing team that supported us during the whole 24 hours. Amazing driving. Octavian said it pretty well. It has some extremely interesting aspects. The physical tire, as they say, which in reality it's a big lookup table, but that's a different story. But it also has, I won't tell them, I won't say there are flaws. It has limitations, which happens pretty much to everybody. So. Kunos has grown because now we are 20 developers, almost 30, depending on what you count in. But definitely, we are not one-man show anymore. So no, Birat, I don't judge it honestly, except for laughing. But I don't like it. Yeah. And a lot of cats, absolutely. I don't think Zabsi that iRacing has 250. I don't know, honestly. Why we don't make ACC cross-platform compatible? I'll tell you why. Um, because it is impossible to release the updates on consoles at the same time as on the PCs. Both because you cannot do it because actually you have to wait for consoles to release and then you have to release for PC. But what we usually are doing is that we develop on PC, we release, we take care with hot fixes of any stupid bugs that we might have done because lazy devs, and then once the PC code is ready and stable enough, we go to the console and give to the team that is making the console conversion to work on it and at least work to a somewhat stable release. And then they go through the submission process that you need to do to the console. So submission process means that you give your game to Microsoft and Sony, and they will test it and see that it doesn't crash or makes other things or stupid things, and they will permit you to release. Otherwise, if they don't permit you, you have to wait, redo, and redo the submission, so on. So that's a lot of time. So you can imagine that the three versions are pretty much never on par of versions, which means that you cannot have crossplay. And of course, there are other issues as well, like frame rate is not the same, um, servers are not the same, consoles have other features that PC doesn't have, for example, private lobbies, and so on and so on. So it's very difficult. Dante, you pay licenses for every single thing. You pay licensing for the championship, SRO in this. You pay licensing different for every track. You pay a different license for every car model. For every car model. So if I want to make the Audi GT3 or the Audi GT4 and the Audi pace car, I need to pay three different licenses. So you pay licensing for every single thing, and that's pretty much the same for everybody. The most difficult part is the refresh rate, absolutely. Yeah, of course, but you understand that this is a extremely big effort and very difficult to handle from a small team or even for two small teams. Kunos is 20 to 30 people permanently, like 30 more. But anyway, I mean, obviously we're talking also people that handle the licenses, the project management, the economics, and so on. The team of the console is a completely different team. It's not us, so I don't know how many they are honestly, and on how many projects they work at the same time. For the game ads, you mean it's more than making money, is collaborating for various things. So pretty much everybody in Januka asks if I have colleagues working full remote. Pretty much everyone in Kunos is working full remote. Almost everyone. I mean, the people working at the office are a very small number, like 3 or 4 people. Everybody else is from our homes. I work from my home. We don't have many female staff. We have only one colleague. No, 3 now. Sorry, because 2 of them are in the administration and economic logistics stuff. The problem is that in a small industry like that, and especially in car, or related to car industry and automotive industry, it's difficult to find female colleagues. They're just not there. That's the main issue. The number is not enough. There are not many. Hopefully, slowly we'll get more. No, Vice, it's pretty much constant. There are peaks, but we don't have issues. Thanks, Benjifa. Atom, that's the way it is, unfortunately. Land tournaments are actually every time they go into the circuits. North America is not horrible. It's not big either. My opinion is that with the correct, push and focus, they could get even higher. But again, priorities, choices, not enough faith. Call it as you want, or a combination of all of it, as usual. It is what it is. It's not mind blowing. Obviously, they will prefer NASCAR pretty much always. If we remade AC1 with the engines and stuff from ACC, yeah, it would be greatly improved. Tortellini, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do. It's not sure 100% yet, but that I don't think I will be able to go to the expo this year because reasons of family, and I have to stay here, I think. Guys, there is no Assetto Corsa 2. We are working on technologies and everything, but until you hear it announced, or you read it announced officially by the official channels, website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, from the official, social media management of Kuno Simulazioni, there is no Assetto Corsa 2. We are working, of course, on future technologies, but don't get your head ahead. Don't speculate. Don't think it's gonna be like this, gonna be like that. There's nothing official. So, and especially don't ask me. Right? No, I don't think I'm the most famous. There are gods out there that they are more famous and more important than me, like Camber from iRacing, uh, the Easy Engine guys, Stefano Casillo himself. Those guys are the sim racing gods. Those people are, a whole different level. I'm just, your friendly developer in the next door that I like to do uh, the live streams and have fun with you. That's all. No worry, Adam. No worry. I'm just explaining for everybody. I'm really dying. Now there's definitely no ACC 2. Simracing.gp, questo è un argomento che parliamo spesso, purtroppo in questo momento penso non è facilissimo da fare, di conseguenza va giù come priorità e non so dirti niente, però sai è una di queste cose che magari esce fuori un developer il giorno dopo e dice ah ce l'ho fatta, magari io me lo auguro però. Real accident with cars. I had a crash with my M3 at the Nordschleife some lots of years ago. I have some crash normal with here and there, but not me driving, but other people just puntering on me. All right, guys, what time is it? Oh, it's 1 o'clock already. My God, I really talk way too much. That's okay. That's the reason. So we really need to stop doing this. Oh my God, I've been talking like 1 hour and a half. Okay, guys, it's really late, so I really have still to recover from the 24 hours. I'm still like uh, hangover. So thank you so much again for joining. I'll be honest, I'm really enjoying this kind of streams. So thank you so much, everybody, for being so nice and having so interesting questions. I really enjoying answering that. I really hope we will be able to do this kind of things someday, live, face to face. It will be fantastic. Who knows? So have a great night. Good night to everybody, and see you on the next live stream. Thanks again for everything. See you next time. Good night. My wife is telling me, you talk too much. You talk too much. You have to stop doing this shit. Ah.